So guys, we had that whole video the other day all about that leaked Switch that was accidentally shipped to a person named Hip Hop the Robot, and everything seemed good. They had the video up, they showed going through the entire system, checking out options, showing us a bunch of information, even did a full unboxing video. Well, one of those videos may have given this person away because, according to a lot of users, there was a barcode that was visible at one point with the serial number that may have tipped off Nintendo. And what's really odd is Hip Hop the Robot's story in the beginning seems to kind of contradict itself, but we'll get into that in 1 second. Let's go through the history here of what happened. So we do know a few days ago, the system apparently showed up at his door. This is what he said. It was shipped to him strangely for no reason that he could figure out, and after, of course, taking apart and everything, realized, hey, it's a Switch, it's brand new, obviously, and they accidentally shipped it to me, an unnamed retailer they did not want to say for fear of getting somebody fired or them in trouble. So after a few days, we find out that he actually had to send the system back to Nintendo. Now, what happened was a third party that they say is not Nintendo reached out and went through this whole thing and said that they needed to send it back to Nintendo. Now, usually if a third party gets involved with this, it's probably law enforcement. So here's just a string of posts that Hip Hop the Robot put out. This is on that NeoGaf thread. I will leave that link down in the description below if you want to check out this entire thing for yourself. And it kind of started where they said, not sure if I can really talk about it, but I will say Nintendo has the console back, and I am personally not in any trouble. Other than being out a console and the money I paid for it, which really sucks with all the bills I have right now, but it isn't going to be the end of the world or anything. Usually, if you're not sure if you can talk about something that's happening like this, it's because law enforcement is involved and you don't want to overstep boundaries in something that may be a confidential case or not something you can put out in the public, and you just want to cover yourself for now, especially if it's an early investigation and they're trying to figure out who stole what. Now, it seems obvious that Hip Hop the Robot did not willingly go in and steal the system from a retailer or anything. I don't want to put that out there that this person is a criminal in any way. It seems like they bought the Switch from someone who got it from another person, and it kind of goes down the line where somebody at some point did steal this, probably out of a warehouse, more than likely. So going from there, Hip Hop the Robot tries to explain why they won't be able to get their money back, because they did say, hey, I'm out the money, I'm not going to be getting it back. And they say, technically that is correct, I might see that money at some point, but reading up on it, I would probably end up in small claims court, which would probably cost more than I would get. So it isn't that I couldn't get the money back, just that I probably won't. I assume here they're talking about the person that they bought the stolen Switch from. They would have to sue that person for what I assume to be $300 to $350 for the system. And it's hard to say. You could spend your time and effort to do it. If you may not need to hire a lawyer to do small claims court, but to do it correctly, you may. However, it is a small amount of money, and going through small claims court could end up costing more time and effort than the item is actually worth. Going from there, they do explain that the system was sent to Nintendo through a third party. They say, oh, believe me, I made sure everything was legit, as I was extremely skeptical when I first was contacted. This is talking about, of course, the possibility of a random person contacting him saying, hey, I'm an officer who is working on this case, investigating it. We believe it's stolen, send it to us. Anyway, from there, they said, and I am not dealing directly with Nintendo, but a third party working on their behalf. But I made sure to ask for plenty of proof before I handed over a console. This is pretty easy. The officers, sheriff, whoever's involved here a detective can send over their badge information, just information in general about them, and even send information about the case that can be easily viewed, for the most part, by a person that they want to see the case information. And from there, the last post that I really found that was pertinent to this whole thing, where Hip Hop the Robot kind of explains their position. They say, well, I am a barista and we don't usually carry Nintendo products at the cafe. This is somebody kind of saying that they were, or accusing them that they worked at the retail store and sold it to themselves. However, at this time, honestly, retail stores probably did not have that system. It was probably, like I said, a warehouse or a distribution center that probably had this item missing from their inventory. From there, they say, and I am sure it is frustrating that I can't share more details, but I am not sure what I can or can't share. For the sake of clarification, I will say that I don't think the person I got it from knew, and therefore I certainly didn't know, but somewhere down the chain, some switches had mysteriously disappeared. It's interesting that they say switches. I wonder if that means that there are more out there that are not being made public on the internet. Obviously, Hip Hop the Robot's their big mess up was sharing it online at all in the first place, because then a huge target was then put on their back. From there, they say, so while it was unknown to me once I found out that it had probably been stolen, I didn't feel comfortable keeping it. Now, I assume they found out when somebody reached out to them, specifically probably the detective or law enforcement. Nintendo probably didn't. What happened was, it's possible that the warehouse realized they were missing a pallet or a box of switches, for example, has to report this, of course, and then it kind of goes from there. All of a sudden, this video shows up on the internet, and you have to know, everybody knew about this, so obviously Nintendo did, and it didn't help their case that they flashed a barcode in the video. And at that point, Nintendo was probably on the case, realizing, hey, somebody probably stole switches. It fell off the back of a truck, and we need to go find these systems, because you can't have people stealing your stuff, obviously. So I don't blame Nintendo at all. This makes perfect sense. Nintendo should be out there looking for these systems, obviously. Once you file the case and everything, at that point, the law enforcement detectives, everyone's on the case. It was pretty easy because this person even said where they lived. So at that point, it was a matter of time before they were reached out to by law enforcement, and at that point, retrieve the Switch. And it's not Nintendo's prerogative to refund this person their money, considering they bought it from what sounds like a person who acquired these items from another person who probably stole the system. And this person also would not be in trouble. They probably could have kept the system to a point where the police actually came and got it from them, but it sounds like they wanted to at least do the right thing, get the stolen merchandise back to the police, since it is a very high profile bit of merchandise, obviously. And at that point, you know what, it's Nintendo's prerogative to retrieve these systems because they were stolen. You can't just steal systems and not expect the police come looking for them. But it sounds like Hip Hop the Robot was just in a bad place at a bad time. Although, I will say, you should probably understand that if you're buying a Switch well in front of release date from a random person, it's probably not legal at that point. I mean, some alarm bells have to go off in your head. It's also interesting to note that Hip Hop the Robot said that it was shipped to them, and now they're saying they bought it from somebody, so, like some random person. So parts of the beginning of the story don't really add up. I think there's a lot of stuff we still don't know here that Hip Hop the Robot will not share, and I would implore them not to share it. But it's interesting that they may have been at the end of what was a large theft of Switches from a warehouse. And yes, guys, if you somehow come into possession of a system that's not out yet, don't put it on the internet. That's like super incriminating evidence, obviously, that you own this, that you have the system in your possession. Obviously, he did not get it from a store. He got it from some third-party person. So it's pretty easy to open and shut that case at that point. At least one of what appear to be several Switches, because they don't just package those things in one box, like one box per system, obviously. They have multiple boxes in one large box or pallet. So there may be other Switches out there that are missing. We don't know. The case files will not be made public until they're closed and everything at that point, possibly. But either way, it seems like I said, Hip Hop the Robot was in a wrong place at the wrong time. I will note, though, it seemed like in an interview, they were talking about selling the Switch. There was even a picture that kind of showed up that they were trying to sell it on Reddit at some point. So that probably didn't help things either, because now the Switch is being passed around. It sounded like they were going to try to sell it for 3 to 4 times the amount that it was going to be retailing for. So they probably would have looked to move it for $1,000 to $1,200. And if that's the case, they move it and it was stolen, that could look really bad on their part, obviously. So it was a good idea to send it back. Don't put yourself in a really bad position down the road where they start realizing, hey, you just sold this for a very hefty profit. That's motive. It seems like maybe you can say you weren't aware of the criminal stuff going on here, but you just made a lot of money, so maybe we should bring in and get this looked at. But, well, at least Hip Hop the Robot sent it back, at least as far as we can tell. The other very outlandish idea is that they've been getting so many requests, they want people to stop asking, so it's conveniently been sent back to Nintendo. I don't think that's the case, because they obviously wanted to sell it. So, at this point, you know what? It's done. It's back to Nintendo at this point, or the third party that's getting it to Nintendo. So now all we gotta do is wait for release day. There's no more leaks from this person. The other people are under embargoes. We've seen dumb news sites put stuff out and then get it retracted. That one we talked about earlier. Apparently the whole article's been retracted because dumb them decided to break an embargo. Well, there you go. So that's the story of this stolen Switch, guys. That's kind of what happened over the past day or so. But just another interesting thing about the Switch. This is the weirdest launch I think I've ever seen. Let me know if you guys think that's the case down in the comments, and I will see you guys next time.